Shalom, family trendsetter. All praises be to the Most High. I won't be long with this commentary. Stay tuned for the video that follows. Now, remember when I told y'all that something major was going to happen before this year end? The Most High revealed to me in a download that something major was going to happen before the year end. Well, this is it. So I would suggest that y'all take heed to what's going on. Those people over there claiming to be us, right? Jihad has been declared on them, which means that anywhere in the United States of America, these people reside, they're planning attacks on these people. And of course, we, being the real true people of the book, right, we might be affected as well. So I would suggest, if you have the opportunity, go out there and start stacking up and get ready to buckle down. You know what I'm saying? Get ready to pretty much avoid any large gathering, because it's about to get real. Family, we got next. In order for a kingdom to rise, a kingdom must fall. Shalom.
Iran has responded to all of this, talking about what a former Hamas leader has said that has really caused, I would argue, global alarm, so much so that U.S. officials are on heightened alert. I want to put this up. This is a live look of the U.S. Capitol, because the U.S. Capitol Police says it's enhancing security ahead of tomorrow, Hal. Quote from the U.S. Capitol Police, "We're enhancing security throughout the Capitol complex. Some of what we're doing will be visible, but for safety reasons, we cannot provide the public details about all of the resources we're putting into protecting the Congress. Our dedicated teams are working around the clock to coordinate with our law enforcement and intelligence partners across the country to keep everyone safe." And then, of course, we also got a statement in from the FBI today on this former Hamas's leader who is calling tomorrow, Friday, October 13th, for a global jihad. The FBI says this: the FBI is aware of open source reports about calls for global action on Friday, October 13th, that may lead to demonstrations in communities throughout the United States. We're working closely with our law enforcement partners across the country to share information and identify and disrupt any threats that may emerge. So right now, the FBI is saying there are no, actionable, credible threats against the U.S. homeland in relation to this, but I've been hearing reports that some, municipalities are telling Jewish leaders in their cities to close their sites, to not come to Shabbat on Friday because of this. Hal?
I've heard that as well. What I will say is, and I actually do some consultative work in this arena, if you will, working with some of the Jewish sites, Jewish community, if you will, in the Southern California area, as there is no credible specific reports out there of a particular threat to a Jewish facility, whether it's a Jewish community center or a temple or Jewish Federation offices or something like that. I haven't seen anything like that. But however, with that said, there has been a heightened security presence at all of these locations. You're seeing more private security. You're seeing, if not stationed law enforcement at the locations, you're seeing an increased number of patrols across the board. Now, what I'm hearing inside is, or what I'm hearing is that they're not telling anybody to avoid, at least in Southern California. I can't speak for the East Coast. Although I did hear that there was some discussion like what you're talking about in New York, about just avoid that. But that nobody's saying, hey, avoid going to temple or avoid going to any facility at all. There's nothing like that. There certainly have been a lot of concerns voiced by, say, parents at preschools and stuff like that. If they have their children at a Jewish preschool, should I send my kid to school or should I do this? And these are legitimate things that parents should be asking. Okay. But I've heard nothing where they're trying to say, don't do that. Now, with all of that said, once Israel goes into the Gaza Strip, I'm going to be looking everywhere. Okay. And one of the big issues is Hezbollah. Hezbollah is not just in southern Lebanon or Syria. They are all over the world. All right. And as we used to say, on their Hezbollah on their worst day is 10 times better than Al Qaeda or ISIS was on their best day. They are the best trained, best equipped, best financed terrorist force in the world. They literally, if you will, they wrote the book, so to speak, on a lot of the tactics, techniques, procedures that terrorists use around the world. They are that good. Okay. And they are all over. And so everybody's paying attention to what's going on just because of their capability. They haven't manifested it yet, and they've been avoiding attacks in the U.S., but I have to tell you, we live in very different times. You know, this is not the Friday before the attacks.
Right.
You know, this is the Friday. We're basically coming up on the Friday after the attacks.
Yeah.
And so things are different. So everybody's going to be watching that very closely.
Yeah, Hal, just lastly, I don't want to make it too elemental for the viewers. I'm sure they know the concept, the word jihad. But for those that don't, it has such religious overtones. It has such civilizational overtones here. If you could briefly, though, jihad, help us make sense of that. Because I think you heard that word a lot pre and post 9/11. Now you're hearing it, 22 years later? Jihad, what does it mean?
Yep. Jihad. Well, actually, what it means, if you get into Muslim interpretation of it, what it means is it's a personal struggle. So, for example, I could have a personal jihad, and my personal jihad was I'm supposed to pray 5 times a day, and I haven't been that adherent, and so my struggle is I need to be more I need to pray 5 times a day and be better at doing that. That would be a perfectly legitimate interpretation of the word jihad. However, it has been said that groups like Al-Qaeda, pardon the expression, hijacked that word some time ago. And when they talk about jihad, and if you go back historically, when large groups have talked about jihad, they haven't been using it in that personal religious context. They've been using it to mean religious war, that they are in a religious war against outside, and you name whatever group. It could be Christians, Jews, it could be Muslims that don't believe the same way that they do.
Sure.
It could be anybody they consider, apostate governments. In other words, governments they feel they're illegitimate, that may be Muslim, but they don't feel they're the right kind of Muslim. That was an ISIS thing that we used to hear a lot. All of this, that would be how they would consider justification for jihad. And it's been used by countries before. It's been used by terrorist groups. So that's my very long, short explanation of jihad. So
right, Hal, yeah, and I don't want to be alarmist at all here, because we got to present all of this so objectively. But you really hadn't heard those feelings that I'm hearing from friends and family about, wow, we hadn't heard that sense, that heightened sense, really since the days right after 9/11. And so I thought the parallels were quite interesting there. Hal Kempfer, as always, we do appreciate your insight. We'll definitely be speaking soon.